the right thing to do and what appears to be the right thing to do are often not the same. I was with a gentleman named Mike Rowe recently. He's Dirty Jobs fame, and he's had a few cool TV shows over the years, spokesman for Ford and several other big, huge companies here in America. I had the pleasure of interviewing him, and he was telling a story about traveling to a farm that raised sheep in the deep south here in America. And he met a man, I believe the guy's name was Albert. And when he showed up here on this sheep farm, they were there for an episode of Dirty Jobs where they were going to castrate lambs. And if you don't know what castrate is, you can Google it, or I could just save you the time. And it's cutting something's balls off, right? So it's when you remove the testicles from a male animal, because despite what these motherfuckers out there say right now, the only thing with testicles are males, right? Okay, just want to fucking reiterate that in 2023 here. So they're going to remove the testicles of these lambs, and you might be thinking, well, why would they do that? Okay, well, first of all, as a rancher, I'll explain why they do that. If I have a bunch of boys that were born, right, and they can only breed with girls because boys have testicles, girls give birth. That's the only way that this stuff works. I just want to reiterate that with pure science here. That's the same for humans and sheep. And what happens, though, is if I have a bunch of boys and then they breed with the girls, I'm not sure what bloodline they are because my bloodlines get crossed and I don't know what boys had with what girls or how they might be cousins or related. And it makes not as good of a lamb, right? The next lamb's not as good because I might have crossbred her with their cousin or something like that, because you can't keep track of what lamb's fucking and what lamb's not fucking. What you do is you castrate them, turn them into the equivalent of steers, which is when you do this to a cow. You keep one or two lambs that are not related to the herd, or one or two rams that are not related to the herd. These rams come in, they breed with all the sheep. They create a new line of lambs. You castrate all of them, repeat the process so that you keep growing sheep without having to worry about who's having sex with what and what bloodline they're from. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, that's why marriage was invented in the world, was to keep and preserve a bloodline so that we didn't cross bloodlines. Clearly, ever since marriage has been broken, there's been a lot of idiots born, right? Let's just be real. There's a lot of dumb fucking people out there because we cross bloodlines. They bred with their cousin and didn't realize it or whatever the hell, right? It's clearly out there. You guys read the comments on YouTube and Instagram. There's a lot of crossbreeding and inbreeding going on out there because the sanctity of marriage has been jeopardized here in America. Back to the point. I say that because he goes and they're going to castrate these sheep. And so he's a little concerned because he's going to be on TV. So he calls PETA. And he says, what's the best way to do this? And they say, well, you put a rubber band around the scrotum and, after a couple of days, the balls fall off, the testicles fall off of the lamb. That's the most humane way to do it. And he's like, okay. So he goes there to the farm. He thinks he's going to put the rubber band on. They spread the legs. Albert takes a knife out, cuts the testicles off of the lamb, then proceeds to put his head down there and bites the testicles, like cuts the ball sack, the scrotum, bites the testicles, and then spits them into a bucket, right? Which is fucking crazy. Right? He had some balls in his mouth, literally. Just saying, Albert. But for generations, that's how they've done it. Mike freaks out and he says, hey, man, what I want to do is, I want to do this the right way according to PETA. And so I want to put a rubber band on them. So they put the rubber band on the next one. The next one goes in the corner and it's making a bunch of noise. It's in a massive amount of pain. I mean, imagine, guys, if you had a fucking rubber band tied around your balls right now. Versus the other one that doesn't even know its balls are missing. And it's just like back to normal. Not even missing a beat, walking around. Everything's totally fine. And it was one of those things that the right thing to do in this situation to relieve the pain of the lamb and everything else was to do what Albert did, cut its balls with a knife and bite them and spit them out, I guess. I'm sure there's a better way than that, but you get the point, right? Versus putting a rubber band on the scrotum for 2 days. Now, why am I telling you this story about lamb and ram balls, right? The point is, not everything that the world thinks is the right. That's why I just went back through this whole gender affirming shit with you guys. Not everything that the world thinks is right is right. Not everything that the world wants you to believe is right. Not everything that looks right is right. Not everything that's the easy way is rarely right. And in a time like we're in right now, I just want to challenge you to ask yourself the question when you hear things, is this right? Or does this just appear to be right? Because we're living in strange times, y'all, and you got to pay attention. Rise above.